Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to this week's live show. I'm super excited and super pumped to be talking about animation. And so thank you for coming and joining the show. I super appreciate it. I'm glad to come in. Hey to Peter, Alexa, Alexandria, Alex, right? Starlight, Patty Pie. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me so far. Make sure to hang out, talk a little bit more about what's going on in the world, because it's the end of the year. So what are you looking forward to in Disney next year? We're not even touching on that in this live stream, possibly in a future live stream, but let me know what you're looking forward to in this coming year and what you saw this past year. I want to know, movie wise, what I should be checking out. I think I saw a lot of stuff, but I should be checking out other stuff. um, Disney Inspired, thank you for joining me. Starlight says, I'm so excited to have time to interact in one of these live streams. Yes, we try and do these every single Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. So if you have time, join us. If you don't have time, there's always time to catch the replay in about 24 hours afterwards. So make sure to at least catch the replay. Angie's here, but she'll be right back. So sad. She's making a pie. But I want to talk about animation and I want to talk about art. And actually, it's great that Disney Inspired is here. He posted a article, I believe, a few days ago, talking about Mary Poppins and how Mary Poppins has this amazing hand-drawn animation in it that a lot of people are above and beyond excited about. But Disney actually didn't do the animation. I'm putting in the effort trying to figure out everything that goes into that, and maybe getting an interview with someone. We'll see. Taddy, welcome to the show. Sorry, 8 Eastern. Dang it. All of my marketing today said 9 p.m. Eastern. I was very wrong. Sorry, everybody. 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern every Sunday if you want to join us here. It's usually either myself, Shannon, or Angie talking about different subjects. But I did want to bring up animation. Here's Angie did not steal my chair. This is how I get excited. This is how I get going. So I wanted to talk about animation because we just did the golden era of animation video, talking about the idea that Walt Disney wanted to progress animation and move it forward and be taken more seriously. But that didn't really ever happen. Overdrive, Brittany, welcome. Thank you for coming to the live stream. That idea that Walt Disney had really didn't happen as much as he wanted it to be taken seriously in animation as this kind of beautiful art form. Snow White did really well, but then Pinocchio and Fantasia and Bambi all failed. And the only other one that did well in those first 5 films was Dumbo. And it's because Dumbo is cute and it's simple and it's more cartoonish. It's not the beautiful watercolors that you see in Bambi or the abstract art of Fantasia. And so it's really hard to take animation seriously because the top critics don't take animation seriously. When you look at the Academy Awards has now added an animation category because they don't want an animated film as the Best Picture nominee any longer. And that's kind of upsetting. But I wanted to bring up this topic, one, because we just did that video on the golden eras. 2, because we have a video coming out this Tuesday about the same golden era, and actually a woman that was a part of the ink and paint department in a brand new series we're calling Disney Legends, where we're going to be tackling different animators and artists and Imagineers and telling their stories. And so we talk about, Shannon talks about someone from the ink and paint department in the early days of Walt Disney Animation. So I'm excited about that video. So this kind of got me thinking about animation and art. And I want to know why you guys don't think that the animation is taken as seriously as it probably should. Starlight said animation in Mary Poppins Returns seems a bit too flashy when compared to the charm of the original. I think that's just the computer. They're obviously hand drawing stuff, but then putting it in a computer. So, pardon me. So you kind of lose a bit of that graininess that goes with the animation. You lose a bit of that charm, and instead you end up with a very beautiful, very bright, vibrant color palette, which is either preferable or not preferable. For some people who love anime, they love that kind of that grainy, very hand drawn, almost colored pencil vibe. Teddy said it's kind of sad that the Academy treats animation like that, but then again, I'm not surprised. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, you're looking at an Academy who put out that they wanted a most popular award this year, and of course they took it back. The Academy is very out of date, and I do love watching the Academy Awards still. I always will, even though I know there are people paying for their movie to be involved in it, and animation and documentaries are separate from dramas and comedies, and it's just I still love it though. Alex said, I think it's because it's colored in the computer. It's still hand drawn. Exactly. That's the Mary Poppins thing. Angie said, watching the animated clips Shannon used for her video that comes out on Tuesday was really making me appreciate the art. The flowers opening, things like that. We talk about the flowers and trees and the old mill, which were old silly symphonies. And then, of course, looking back at the Golden Era and looking at all those films and like how the colors are and how they're animated, and it's just so vibrant and beautiful. And I love like that animation that you don't get that anymore. Brittany said, I think it's Americans and Western audiences in particular that don't take animation serious. Japan gives a lot of mainstream love and airtime to anime. That's something that I did want to bring up. Is this an American thing? Because here's an interesting story too, right? That we have all this animation that was going on Saturday mornings and cartoons for kids. We'd all wake up and eat our cereal, but animation for adults has been around for quite a while. The Flintstones were supposed to be a primetime TV show for the whole family. The whole family was supposed to watch it. And you look at The Simpsons, obviously, and Family Guy, Futurama, Disenchanted this past year, which I loved that show. There's a lot of animation for adults as well, yet we still see it as kid stuff. And maybe it's because all of those shows are comedies. We don't see a lot of adult drama animation. Starlight said, I've always thought that the best animated feature category was put in for the variety of studios doing it. I'm not 100% sure on the reasoning for best animated feature at the Academy Awards, but I do know that the Academy in general likes to keep to a very distinct style of film. They love dramas. They love period pieces. It takes a lot for the Academy to venture away from that. To put something in there. Angie said Looney Tunes every Saturday morning with my dad. Her dad's in the chat too. So we were talking about that earlier, that her dad loves Elmer Fudd. I wouldn't call that art, more like using animation to pull off gags, but isn't the cartoons or comedy animation, even though it's considered gag filled, it's still like, regardless, the act of creating that 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 6-minute short, full length feature movie, the act of doing that is the art. So regardless of if it's comedy or drama, whether it's trying to be a Looney Tunes or some serious anime or Pokemon or whatever the case might be, it should be all categorized into the same art form because it's the same style of art, which is animation. What does everyone say? Alex said, I don't think it's just the Academy that doesn't take it seriously. For me personally, some people didn't believe it was wise for me to pursue animation as a career. There's a stigma for art careers. There is a stigma in art. A lot of people don't believe that there's money in it. But animation in general, it's like people, and this is funny too, you get a lot of people who, and of course we're more or less a Disney inspired channel here, but you get a lot of people who go and see an animated film and just assume Disney made it. They don't even understand that there are like so many other major animation studios out there making movies. You get a lot of people who think Pixar animation is Disney, or you think that Minions is Disney, or you see Shrek and it's Disney, and like no, there's all kinds of other people doing this, and there's definitely a lot for everyone. Everyone can join in. Um, uh, I think because we've taken advantage of animation as blatant ads for toys. There's a bit of a stigma. I think that one of the things that animation does is it does allow it to be friendly for children more so than live action. The colors, the ability to move a character with bendy arms, and all the different fantastical things you can do with animation definitely gears towards children, right? SpongeBob SquarePants is a children's show, or at least it's geared towards children. You can watch it and you can love SpongeBob SquarePants, but it is geared towards children. And that being said, yes, it's going to be on Nickelodeon. There are going to be advertisements. Excuse me. There are going to be advertisements around that, and then you're going to get this stigma that like the toys, the show, and then you get the SpongeBob SquarePants toys, and then you also get all the food. You get the SpongeBob SquarePants Campbell's soup, and you like, yes, there is that. But there are also Angie and I were just at the mall yesterday. I hadn't been to a mall in years, but we were just at the mall the other day, and we saw a lot of Rocco's Modern Life merchandise and a lot of Rugrats merchandise geared towards adults, people who loved it and were buying that kind of merchandise as kids, now buying that merchandise as adults. In fact, for Christmas, I got Ren and Stimpy socks, male, men's Ren and Stimpy socks. And it's because adults do like cartoons. We do like animation. It just so happens that we like hide it, or a majority, maybe not us here right now because we're talking about it, but a lot of people hide it. They would rather say that they don't like Disney or they don't see kid stuff. There's always going to Disneyland over the past 2 years that Angie and I were living in California. I would see all the time like that cool dad who doesn't know any of this Disney stuff, doesn't know any of the characters, like nothing is cool to him about Disney. And it's like he's just playing it off. It's like, dude, you know who Mickey Mouse is. Everyone knows who Mickey Mouse is. Just enjoy yourself, But it seems like people try and play it off. Um, and yes, be it Looney Tunes was the best thing ever. I was always a Disney kid, but I did like Looney Tunes, Tiny Toons, and Animaniacs, for sure. Brittany said, I think there's also a deeper stigma within American culture that classifies kid-coded content as somehow being lesser than, resulting in things like animation not being taken as seriously. And that is also very true. I think that we don't take children's content seriously. I did a video at the very beginning of this year. I think it was the first video I did of 2018 that was about Sesame Street and about how for decades Sesame Street has shaped the world that we live in. It's shaped our minds and imaginations at a very young age before we probably even knew what the world was outside of our parents, outside of our home. And the fact that this singular show with puppets geared towards children has done so much is incredibly impressive. And if you didn't see, Brittany, I know that this was, I believe, on your list. If you did not see the Mr. Rogers documentary this year, I completely 100% say that you should see it. It will make you cry from beginning to end of that documentary, because even though the Mr. Rogers neighborhood show was geared towards children, it taught life lessons that have impacted people further into their lives than they'll ever think. And that they tackled really serious, honest issues on that show that aren't just kids stuff. There were serious political issues going on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Warren, welcome to the show. Um, You said I'm going to be animated hopeful. Hopefully, are you going to get animated, or are you going to be an animator? I'd like to know. I'd like to know what you're talking about. Um, Disney Inspired said Tiny Toons and Animaniacs were just as good as DuckTales and the Rescue Rangers. There was a great period in the late 80s, early 90s, thanks to Steven Spielberg and Disney Animation, getting revitalized thanks to Roger Rabbit and everything that was going on right then. Just like so much good television animation. And we're having that revival again right now. I feel like right now television animation is doing really well. Warren said, hopefully. Also, they should consider they are winning Oscars and considering they are winning Oscars and awards. Brittany said, yes, fantastic documentary. It is. You should definitely go see it. Taddy said, if film is a form of art, then shouldn't animation be treated as such? 100% agree with you. Definitely agree with that statement. Plain and simple, if film is art, animation is art, and they should be seen as equals. They should not be seen differently. Um, Both are very tricky to pull off and take so many people to do, from doing a short film to doing a full length film, or from doing a short animated cartoon to pulling off a full length feature animated drama. They're both extremely hard, and since we're now blending that medium between what is animation, when we're looking at the Lion King coming up, what's animation, what is film, we're blending those a lot now, and and we should be treating both as equals. Hank and Gavin show, thank you guys so much. Um, I appreciate that so much for the $1.99. The new Spider-Verse looked seriouser than most. Here's the thing about the Spider-Verse film. A couple of years ago, when Disney put out that Paperman short and then they put out Feast, I went on record and I did say this on the podcast and I said this in videos. Disney should, within the next 5 years, be making this style of animation, this hybrid 2D, 3D animated style. And Pixar, with the Piper short and with The Good Dinosaur, was going much more photorealistic. And I thought that's the way that they should go with their backgrounds and with the way things should look. Yet Disney has not gone that way. And I don't know if they've not gone that way because of the changing of the guard at both Disney and Pixar, or if they're a little bit afraid to take that leap. But funny enough, Sony was like, "We'll take that leap," and now we have Into the Spider-Verse, which is being taken seriously, and thank goodness it's being taken seriously, because who expected a Spider-Man movie coming out of just Sony, not connected to Marvel Studios, to be hands down one of the top topics going into the animation realm of the Academy Awards next year? I really honestly think Disney does not deserve the best animated film award this coming year. They have Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet, and they have The Incredibles 2. But Spider-Verse, I mean, that was an amazing film. You got to give that animation style something for sure. Disney said, take Beauty and the Beast as an example. The animated movie versus the live action movie. The animated movie provides a different and more in-depth look at the story, and I think both the live action and the animated provide different takes and different feels. But again, there's this stigma with Disney that people, for whatever reason, can't accept Disney as anything more than children's entertainment. But like the animated film and the live action film both have adult themes to them, very different adult themes to them, and both are amazing films, to the point where Beauty and the Beast back in the 1990s was up for the Academy Award for Best Picture, Best Motion Picture of the Year. And then they were like, by the way, we're going to add this animated category in and squash any animation from ever winning Best Film of the Year. Curses. Hang Gavin Show. Well, I got $70 in Apple iTunes. Thought I could say a late Merry Christmas. Thank you guys. Merry Christmas to you. I appreciate that. And we'll have to get in touch soon. I appreciate that very much. Alex said, sorry, ran with what Disney did. Um, ran with what Disney did with Feast. I can't believe how beautiful the Spider-Verse is. Exactly. Exactly. And I think the hope is that as animation like that is coming back into the foray, as animation is being integrated into films like Mary Poppins Returns, maybe, just maybe, we'll get this time period where, like Brittany said, Westerners, where Americans in particular really take animation more seriously. Uh, so as that animation became mainstream as an escape from the Great Depression, because growing up and the cynical is the hot ticket, animation falls with it. I mean, yes, again, great point in the fact that the 1930s was the Great Depression, but it was also the rise of Mickey Mouse, and how many people loved Mickey Mouse. And even though we were just kind of coming out of the Great Depression, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was hands down a huge blockbuster success. Like, people were poor, but they were still willing to give their money to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs because it was this fantastical um, place that you could go and not worry about your life for a few hours. And animation really provides that, even more so than live action. I truly believe that. I think that if you're looking for escapism, animation is definitely the way to go. If you can't make it out to Disney World and Disneyland every day, go see an animated movie. Um, like I said, I wonder when was the last time an anime film was nominated for Best Animated Picture. I believe there's always been some sort of Japanese film nominated almost every year that they've had a Best Animated Feature award. In fact, there is one this year. I don't remember the name of it. I'll have to get back to you on that one. Or I guess it was nominated for the Golden Globes. We don't know the Academy Awards yet, but for the Golden Globes, they did have a Japanese anime up for it. Hey, Gavin, if you know the Pixar theory, then you'll know what I'm getting at here. Anyway, I've been attempting to connect all Disney movies trying to make a Disneyverse. Good luck. That is a lot of Disney connection. When you're talking about like 20 films in Pixar, you're talking like now we're heading into like upper 50s as far as Disney films. If you're looking for just Disney animation, and you're not looking at like all the other sequels and all the other things they did, you know. Um, Alex said maybe Disney animation needs to take more risks to be taken seriously. That's, if you go back to our video that Angie put out about the golden eras, that's all they were doing. They were taking huge risks in animation, and they played it safe for a long time. I think one of the things that made the revival really great, the Disney revival. If you still believe we're in the Disney revival, good for you. I have this feeling now that we're kind of out of it into something else. But looking at Tangled being kind of the first huge success of that era, they opted to not call it Rapunzel. They opted to call it Tangled. They opted to focus on both a female and male character. They opted to do a lot of different things different. Obviously, the CG elements coming into play with John Lasseter on board from Pixar. I mean, like, they were taking some risks early on, like not long ago, like 10 years ago. And it just seems like they're stuck in this mode. Like, great, Frozen was great. We're gonna make a second one. Cool, Wreck-It Ralph was great. We're gonna make a second one. Like Zootopia was a huge risk, and I don't think they're ever gonna touch that franchise ever again. They just don't have a need to. Starley said the Feast style of animation made Spider-Verse look like a living comic book. Yes, like that Meander software was what Disney was using for Paperman and Feast, and I believe that Sony developed their own thing. So it's not Meander; it's their own thing. But for a while, I thought when Big Hero 6 was coming out that they were going to use that style because of the comic book attachment. And was a little bit disappointed when Big Hero 6 didn't use that, to be honest. Um, yeah. Hanky Gavin said, I am strictly just Disney movies, no Pixar, that have theatrical releases. They must be animated. Okay, so you're looking at 50-something movies. So good luck with that project. But is there anything that you guys think that Disney or any animation studio can do at this point to be taken seriously as for an American audience? Is there anything that you think the animation studio can do? Because we as the audience can only do so much, and the Academy is obviously not going to take animation as seriously. Like, is there something that we look at and think, yeah, if you did this, Disney, you would be taken extremely seriously, or Warner Brothers, Sony, Universal, whomever, whatever studio, would anybody be taken seriously in that realm? Because I'm not 100% sure. I don't, I don't know. I'm kind of putting that out there for you guys. Alex said, I agree. The Spider-Verse pushes it even more. Spidey's animated stuff on 4s and 6s held frames in some of the action sequences, which made it even more comic booky. I actually didn't know how they completely animated it, so I'm interested to learn more. Maybe I can hook up with Alex to learn that. Hank Gavin said, Zootopia does seem a little more serious, and I have a question. Can you please explain the comic book Big Hero 6 from the Disney movie, please? I actually never read Big Hero 6, the comic book. I just knew that it was a comic book, so I figured they would go with the comic book route. Just being honest with you, I didn't read the comic. I've heard good things, but I didn't read it. I'm sorry. Sorry you gave me $1.99 and I don't have any good answers for you. Starlight said, as long as there's a stigma behind it, animation can never be taken seriously. And Alex said, I think the Disney execs need to give the creators more freedom. I think that's true. I think taking risks and pushing boundaries and trying to do something incredible um, could get them taken more seriously. I mean, when you look at uh, the old good old days, when Walt Disney was putting out the golden era of animation, Snow White was such this crazy, breathtaking experience for people who had never seen a film like that, and Pinocchio, Fantasia, etc. Those films were pushing boundaries consistently. Whether they made money or not didn't really matter. But right now, Disney has so much money thanks to Star Wars and Marvel and Pixar and all of their other things that they do. The theme parks and the TV series and or the TV channels and soon to be the streaming service. I think that they could probably take a few more risks in animation and maybe even lose some money in animation, and be okay in the long run. Brittany said the comic versus the movie is pretty different. So go check out Big Hero 6, the comic. Maybe I will. I don't know if it's on Marvel Unlimited or not. I'm a huge fan of Marvel Unlimited. Pay the couple of bucks to get it. Way worth it. We used it. Angie used it for our Marvel podcast, Marvel 101, and we swear by it now. So go read some comics on Marvel Unlimited. Patty said maybe if they show more behind the scenes of making the animated movies, people would appreciate the artistry. And that's something that they used to do all the time on like the Sunday night movies, right? They would show a movie, but they would also show some behind the scenes stuff on Sunday nights on ABC when everybody was watching. And being able to see a little bit of how some of those movies was made does take a lot of that into like, oh wow, I didn't know so much went into this. Back a long time ago, you used to be able to go to Walt Disney World, to what is now the Hollywood Studios Park, and go to the actual like animation department. I actually saw Brother Bear getting animated there, and I had a huge appreciation for the animation department there. I didn't see Brother Bear until like years later, but now I love Brother Bear. I love that film. Angie said highlighting artists and artistry more in general. They try in the parks with artists painting live in shops. What about some of those specials? Yeah, bring back the specials. Pizza taking risks, keeping the message simple and basic. Don't produce with commercialism foremost in purpose. Stick to entertaining. Yeah, I think that's another thing too. Commercialism is so huge. They want to Disney's whole idea, and really a lot of the major studios are thinking about how do we make toys, how do we make teddy bears, how do we get in Happy Meals, how do we sell this and so forth. Like when you look at a studio like Leica, that did like Kubo and the Two Strings or Coraline, it's more artistic because you're not trying to push merchandise as your main thing. I don't know if I've even seen any Kubo and the Two Strings um, merchandise at all. But a beautiful film. Um, Max said a PG-13 animated Disney film will never happen, but animated TV shows like The Simpsons and Rick and Morty are so popular. It's a tough situation. I actually think that maybe not Disney, but maybe somebody like a Warner Brothers should shoot more for a very artsy PG-13 kind of animated film and see how it does. And if they take the risk and they lose the money, again, it's Warner Brothers. I think they'll be fine. Um, Hank and Gavin said, "Do you have a Discord chat? If not, you should consider making one for this channel and the subscribers. We do have a Facebook group, an official Facebook group. You are more than welcome to join us there. In fact, I believe the link is down below in the subscription to this, or in the information box below this. I've been thinking about a Discord. I have been thinking about it. If you'd like a Discord service to chat with, let me know. I would love to do whatever people would like. Discord chat would be incredible," said Brittany. Great. It's funny. Taddy said it's funny how whenever people talk about a film as a whole, animation is almost never mentioned. Um, it's kind of true. Like it is kind of true that like when people talk about even an animated film, they don't talk about the animation. They talk about the story and the characters and the plot. They don't really talk about the artistry that goes involved, and I think that comes, especially at least nowadays with the computer generated everything, that it doesn't seem as artistic. And I've fallen into that trap that I think people who do hand drawn animation are more of an artist than people who do CG animation. But there is a whole different skill there, and I do believe that that is an art. Sometimes I do fall victim to that. But if you go back even and look at some of the films like Snow White, and you see the artistry in it, and you just have to pay attention and say like every single line drawn here is actually drawn by a person. But you look at a movie like Monsters Inc. and Monsters Inc. Someone chose every single detail in that film, and that's incredible to think that all of those things were choices that had to be made by someone, not just the plot, not just the characters, not just the music, um, every detail. What shade of green is Mike Wazowski? How long are the hairs on Sully? Like those kinds of questions, like amazing detail ideas that go into that. Angie said, "Skylar, tell them Angie says weird people are the best people anyway." Weird people are the best people. That is true. And Skylar, I didn't say welcome. Welcome to the chat. I hate when people say that I'm weird because I have no kids and like going to watch animated movies. Um, yeah, there's a stigma about that, right? Like if you don't have children and you're not a child, why would you go see an animated film? But some of the best stories are animated features because they can do whatever they want. They can do whatever they want. Um, Alex said, unless you're like me, who dissects the animation like crazy. Coming from somebody who used to be in a band, I could sit down and listen to music and dissect like every song, and it's infuriating, I'm sure, for a lot of people. But now I do it, with history and animation and theme parks and stuff too. So that's why we're here, Alex. We're kindred spirits. Kindred spirits. I'm gonna wrap this up here in just a few moments, but Max said I think DC Comics should do a PG-13 animated film. It would be better than some of their recent disasters. Ooh, burn. Okay, so there have been some PG-13 Batman films, and they've gone kind of straight to the theaters or straight to DVD without really any hoopla. I think you're right. If DC and Warner Brothers got behind some kind of Batman movie, an animated Batman movie, just like Into the Spider-Verse was with Sony, right? Sony spent an entire year almost marketing Into the Spider-Verse. If they could do that with Batman, PG-13, showing blood, getting crazy, I think that that could be a great beginning for DC and possibly for animation being taken a little more seriously. I do think the superhero thing may not help them. I think if you're going to be taken even more seriously, you may want to do something more dramatic, less superhero actiony. But I do think that that is a great thing. Oh yeah, Angie said, don't forget to like this video. We appreciate it. Subscribe if you've not already. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Hank Gavin said, here's a possibility. When 20th Century Fox and Disney merge, finalizing maybe that they could use Fox as a way to make more serious animation. That is a fantastic idea. It's something that they did with Touchstone with live action. Why not use Fox as your scapegoat to do mature animation? That sounds fantastic. And yeah, if you like it, even if you didn't, just do it. It's a good thing to do. That is correct. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me on a Sunday evening. I'm going to go and play some HQ trivia because that's my jam. I love that kind of stuff. Thank you so much for subscribing, for liking, for going and checking out all of our videos. Make sure to check out the Disney's Golden Era animation video if you have not. It's the last video that we put out. Coming out this Tuesday is going to be our first ever Disney Legends video looking at the ink and paint department back in the olden days when they made Snow White and those silly symphony cartoons, and it's specifically one woman in particular. That's Shannon's video coming up this Tuesday, and we'll be back next Sunday with another live show, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Alex, I got it right this time, 8 p.m. Eastern. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Disney Inspired, thank you. Skylar, thank you. Angie, yes, we're going to go have pie now, so that's exciting for me. And then, yeah, should I walk in and smash on Josh's face? Is that art? That is not art, and please don't do that. I want to eat it, not put it on my face. I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. See you next time. Keep on moving, people.